Hi everyone, and welcome to OP Digital Blueprint. I'm joined by my two best colleagues here, Jean and obviously Red.
Hey
Fantastic.
guys.
Today, what I want to do is I want to give you a little bit more about the security side of things, about what's coming, because I think it's important. We've already seen, if you like, we've seen several people unfortunately pass away during these last 4 or 5 years, and things happen. So we want to make sure that you guys have the right understanding, the right knowledge, and can empower yourselves to make sure that what you've got goes to the person that you want it to go to. Yeah, if something were to happen to you. Now I'm going to let uh, you guys talk about the computer side of it and what you do with whatever. But what I wanted to do was to make sure that everybody understands what a will and testament is, or a letter of interest. Yeah. So if you have a position, you want to make sure that you write down somewhere and sign it with a witness to say, I have a position. This position has this email attached to it, and this is the password right now. If it changes, you change the letter, or you write a little note to go with that letter. You've already signed it, so you don't need to do another one. But it says, I have this position. My email address is such and such. My OMail email address is such and such. My password is such and such. And I want to make sure that this position goes to this member of my family or this person. And you write their full name in the event of something happening to me. And you can do that with whatever you have, but it's so important to do it with what's going on with Onpassive. You don't want to have wrangles in the family if something happens to you and you have this position, particularly if there's lots and lots of income being generated from this position over time. And believe me, over time, you will. So I've started, Red. I'll let you carry on for a little bit
No
and take
problem.
it.
Yeah, it's a good subject to be talking about, especially with what is inevitably going to be happening when that is moving into phase two of this company and things getting going again. This means that the accounts that we're talking about now are going to start generating income through either however you're going to do it yourself or the company or however. So this company is actually one of the only companies that I've come across in my career of being online that allows a position to be passed on. Normally, in normal way, that if somebody unfortunately passes, that's it, game over. That account is finished. Nobody can take it over. But this is one of the very big plus sides of this business is that your account is willable. That means that you can pass it on to somebody else. And as Andy's rightly said, you either have to put it in your last will and testament legally through whatever legal channels that you have in your country, or you put a letter of intent down signed by somebody separate. So what would be the course of action if this did happen? Uh, if you have this documentation, it's very easy. And I mean very easy. You contact the company, the support network that is there, and you produce the relevant credentials, that being, unfortunately or fortunately, a certificate of passing, death certificate, along with a copy of the either will or the letter of intent to them with the name of the account that it is going to be transferred to. That's it, done and dusted. You don't have to do any more than that. So why are we talking about getting things in order right now? We've talked many times, haven't we, over the last 6 months probably now, of getting things ready for moving forward. This is just one of the things that you should have got ready prior to us starting again. Why? Because guys, you want to be concentrating on getting your business going when we're allowed to. Utilizing time now before we get going is going to serve you well in the future. It means things you haven't got to double back to be done whilst you are really busy. We've talked, all of us, between ourselves, of what we are individually going to do with our businesses. And one of the things I'm not going to be doing is doing admin work that I could have done previously, instead of doing work that is going to benefit the progress of my business moving forward. So we want you guys to be in the same situation. And that means us collectively here bringing you a message of, if you didn't know, this is possible. And also, now that you know, what you have to put in place whilst you can to be able to do this moving forward. Now then, I am also going to touch on the people that unfortunately have passed and haven't put stuff in the right letterage and all the rest of it. Is it still possible to transfer this account to somebody else? And the basic answer to that is yes. Okay, the account doesn't die with that person. The account is transferable as long as the right and relevant documentation is given. And that is normally from a family member who has the certificate of passing, the death certificate of that person, with the acknowledgement from others that this was something that that person wanted to happen. But it's long-winded. It will be a backwards and forwards of documentation, of paperwork, of maybe emails, backwards and forwards, and time element collectively to that as well. The basic is always the easiest, and that is write down the account number, write down the name of the account number, write down the password of the account number and the email address that is attached to it. That includes the recovery email that is attached to it, along with the OMail. If you can get the person who has the account to write those things down, and you have those in your possession, even without the letter of intent or the will, you can still, with a death certificate, get that transferred to the right person. So we do encourage you all to make sure that this is put in place. Whilst we've got the time now, it's literally going to take 10-15 minutes just to write these things down. You can actually write the letter out for your loved ones if you want to have it all there, and literally all you have to do is sign the bottom of it. Simple as that. And then it can be put in a safe place so that we're moving forward. I'm just going to finish on this. I'm not going to say I'm sure, but I know there is many people. Unmute your mic, Red. Now, they're not going to say that. They are going to say, why do I need to do this when I haven't even earned any money? Why do I need to go down this route when there's actually nothing in the pot? Why am I going to bother? What's the point of bothering doing that? It's a bit like so many companies that have happened over your lifetimes that you've seen going from zero to hero. Our company has exactly that potential to do the same. If you don't do it now and you end up getting bogged down or in a situation where you are focused on other things and it slips your mind or you don't do it and all the rest of it, the more finances are in that account, the bigger it gets, the more of a minefield it becomes to transfer it. Why? Because unfortunately, guys, when money is involved, it is amazing how difficult people become to allow these sort of things to happen. When there's zero involved, right, nobody cares. When there's literally hundreds of thousands or even millions involved, a lot of people start caring. And what you don't want to do is be in a situation where down the road you didn't do something when you should have done it, you were told about it, you didn't take any notice, you didn't think it was going to be this big, it's become this big, and then all of a sudden you've got aunties, uncles, Fred from next door going, he told me I could have it when he passed. And without that piece of paper, without that letter, without it being in a will, you are then fighting a legal battle with other people because they are saying that they had the right to take over this account when that person died. So I'll leave it at that and hand it back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Fred. And believe me, I've seen many cases as a financial advisor where the family have fought tooth and nail to get release of assets that the government has just simply put a hold over. And in one particular instance, the just the corner of the will was missing, and it's gone into Queen's Realm, and the family will never receive any benefits. So, you know, you need to make this easy for yourself and your family. What's the worst thing to have to deal with in the event that someone passes, you know, a member of your family goes? What's the one thing that you have to deal with? You have to sort out all the rubbish. And that's the last thing you want to have to do when you're grieving. So deal with it. Make it easy for yourself. Jean, I'm sure you've got some thoughts on this.
Well, it's a very timely topic, you know, because it's as I've said, tomorrow is promised to none of us. You know, all three of us here, we're blessed to be here today talking with one another. Tomorrow, we may not. So getting these things done, even as Red said, just a simple letter, something with your signature that will possibly stand up if something happens to you. It's going to make all the difference. I know when my father-in-law passed away, there was a letter that he had left in a kitchen drawer. Now, he had a will and all of that, but there were things that he wrote down. And so we were able, it was wishes, things, I want this to go to that person. And it wasn't official, it wasn't, but it was, we spoke with a lawyer, and that was considered, because it matched his handwriting and it matched, and all of these kinds of things, it was not necessarily legally binding, but it was something that was considered authentic enough that we were able to go by that list and make sure that people got the things that he wanted them to get. So do a kindness to your family by doing this ahead of time. So like Andy said, people don't have to bicker over what you're leaving them, right? Do all this stuff now, because one of the things that's for sure is that when this ball gets rolling, we're each going to be getting our businesses going. We're each going to be caught up in, you know, getting our accounts going, you know, buying products, doing this and that. We're not going to have time to necessarily hold the hands of everybody that decided to wait. Do you know what I mean? Do you guys agree with me that it's, we want to do it now, and it only takes a few minutes to write something down so that when this goes, if something happens, you're at least covered in a basic way. And then if you want to go even further, get it notarized, make it part of your official will, all of that kind of thing. I was just thinking, I have a letter that's sort of written to my daughter because she's the technical one. She'll know. I said, this is my main email account. So you want to go there. These are people you might want to reach out to if something happens to me, that kind of thing. But I was thinking, and I want to ask you guys what you think about this. My main email is a Gmail. This would be my alternate email for my main account, the email that I registered with. Right now, I have two-factor authentication on it, which tech people will all say, oh, do the multi-factor authentication, do all these things like that. My question is, if something happens to me and the person who is going to take this over, maybe finds my note or whatever, doesn't have my phone, just say my phone is destroyed or something. What do you guys think? This is kind of an interesting question about the two-factor authentication, because it makes me worried a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you know what I mean?
Andy, me or you?
You, mate, because I haven't got a clue.
Okay, right. 2FA is something that I use all the time on my phone. I've got it with passcode and or facial recognition. Now, 2FA, in my opinion, is an absolute must. Okay, if you are serious about your security on anything, use 2FA. You can either use authentication with Google Chrome, where it does random numbers, or you use your phone, which is how I do it. Two ways. One is obviously my wife knows my password to my phone. Okay, so she can access my phone if it comes to wanting to verify anything for that 2FA, because she can open the phone, the code will come through. But here is the other but. Normally on 2FAs, it will have an ability to be able to send a recovery password to the email that is attached to that account. And if in your case, Jeanne, that account needs to be reset, then it will be through the email to reset the 2FA on there. So there is always a kind of a way round, if that makes sense, sort of a double way of being able to authenticate. But it is certainly, if you are serious about your security online, 2FA is the way to go. And whilst we're talking about this, by the way, if anybody ever gets an email from any company saying we've noticed what's the wording they use? We've noticed unusual usual action or usual usage or people trying to go into your activity on your accounts. Click this link to reset or to check what it is. Don't. Okay, if you get that email from any company, go to the company address, okay, on your normal logging in system. Do not click any link on any email. Why? Because that will then put a phishing bot into your computer, and they will have access to your accounts. Not just that account, guys, other accounts as well. So take security very, very seriously. At the moment, I don't know your financial circumstances for everyone out there, but certainly with our company, then it is something certainly in the future that you need to start taking very seriously. And if you get in a habit now, it's just another habit. And that will be available for sure within the company in phase 2. Back to you.
I think one of the other things that you know, there is sometimes, for instance, if I want to leave my accounts to my son, I have a company, so I could make him a shareholder in the company, and everything that comes under Onpassive goes into the company. But you've got to take this into consideration when you set these accounts up. When we go back live and you do the KYC, the know your customer, which will come and it will come very quickly. They have to understand and know who you are. So this is generally facial identification, a passport, a utility bill, or driving license if you have, or something from an official source with the picture of you. Don't panic, people. It'll be made nice and simple for everybody. But what I'm getting at is that if I register, when we do the KYC, I do the KYC as if I'm a company. Yeah, so all of my accounts go into my company. Therefore, if something happens to me, the company doesn't die. If I have another shareholder, the shareholder is, everything's passed to the other shareholder. Yeah, so again, makes things simple. When you do a letter of intent, please, please, please make sure you have a witness that is not a family member that signs this and dates it. It's very, very important. But, and this is where we get to, I think it's important that you have a chat with somebody, or certainly do a little bit of research online about what you can and cannot do as far as a self-employed business, a self-employed person, sorry, or a company is concerned. Because as we've all said here, we may not have it now, but believe me, in 5 or 6 years' time, or even 10 years' time, you could be extremely wealthy. So certainly when it comes to things like companies, what can you, and I won't use the phrase get away with, what can you legitimately put down as far as a cost to the business, something that makes or reduces your tax bill, if you like, because it's a legitimate cost to the business. Each country has different rules and regulations, so it's worth having a word with an accountant if you've got the opportunity to do so, or simply doing some research on the internet of what your company allows and doesn't allow. So for instance, some may include things like a uniform. So if you buy a suit for your business, it becomes a business cost. Some of us don't wear suits. Some of us wear dresses. No, I won't go there. But the fact of the matter is there's lots of different variations or different things that you can pay for that become a cost to the business. And a self-employed person, if they have one account and they don't want to set up a business, they're a self-employed person, then they have slightly different options as far as costs or the relief of costs are concerned. So it's best to do that little bit of research again now, rather than, as Jean quite rightly pointed out, Christ, if you start seeing business coming in, the last thing you want to do is have to spend hours and hours sorting through stuff because you didn't do it first. And my favorite phrase is, proper prior planning prevents poor performance. So, Red, I'm sure you've got something else you'd like to add.
Yeah, just a couple of points. And obviously, it's one of these conversations that we don't really want to be telling you what to do or to, you know, encourage you to do. But what we don't want to do is to be in a situation where you turn around and say, I wish somebody had told me about this, and then things would have been different. Well, here we are giving you a lot of warning of what you can do now to prevent things going a bit south. And it really does make sense to be serious about your business, you know, and that's really, for me, is that a kind of the bottom line here is, if you're serious about your business, then you will do this. It's a bit like how many of you have written down already if you've got multiple accounts, how many of you written down on a piece of paper all your account numbers, all your passwords with the relevant documentations, and stuck it in the safe? How many of you? And I bet you, I wouldn't even put it 50% of you guys out there have done it. But if you're serious about it, you would have done it, or you would have informed somebody, putting it somewhere, or whatever else it is. This makes life easy. Okay, you do it once, makes life easy, all the rest of it. If it isn't, you end up being like me and getting almost daily emails of people who can't access their accounts because of this, because of that. I've lost this, I've lost that, all the rest of it. There is no need for it. And this is really down to people not being serious about their businesses. The same as people saying my Gmail account that I registered with the company isn't active anymore. 2 whole years a Gmail will last without it being active before it goes into recovery mode. 2 years. Now, yes, you can argue that some of our accounts have probably lapsed that time of 2 years, and people haven't even sent one email from that account. That's all you need to do. Within 2 years, all you need to do is send one email back to your account from that account to yourself, and then you're good to go for another 2 years. That's people being serious about their accounts. I do it on a monthly, bi-monthly occasion. All my accounts, I send one email from each of those accounts to myself. And when I mean from those accounts, I mean from the registered email that's attached to that account. I'm not talking about your own mail now before anyone says, I can't use my own mail. I'm talking about the registered account that's on that, a registered email that's on that account. How long does it take me? 10 minutes tops. And then I know my accounts are good. Why do I do it? Because I'm serious about my accounts. I'm serious about what the possibilities of this business is going to do to me. And what do I want to do? Excuse me. I want to safeguard any errors or anything that could go wrong that's going to jeopardize that. You guys should do the same. Rather than going, can't be bothered, I'll wait and see, I'll do it when I need to. Excuse me. Now's the time. Back to you.
Thanks, Fred. Yeah, absolutely. As I will use this phrase to my grave, and I've even got comfort at it. But Jean, what else would you like to add?
Well, I would just say, like what Red was just talking about. I mean, this is what we've alluded to in prior sessions, where people that are successful, I don't know how to say this. Number one, they 100% believe in what they're doing. They focus on it. They do the steps that they need to do it. The people that are not successful are the ones that say, oh, this isn't really going to do it. I don't need to do anything now. No, I'll wait. That is not a success mindset. We've talked about this, and this is something that, they interview very successful people and they say, what did you do? What is your secret? Well, that's your secret. So if you're one of those people that's saying, I don't need to do a letter of intent or a will, I don't need to write my stuff down, I don't need to do any of that, I'm going to wait and see, they're the ones who are not going to succeed. So if you're watching this, chances are you want to succeed. So do the steps that you need to do, as simple as writing down all your accounts, your information, you're keeping your registered emails active. I check it every 3 months. I just send emails out from all of my accounts, right? I even put a little reminder in my calendar so I don't forget, because time flies, right? So we just, keep your ducks in a row. Things are about to start happening, and write a simple letter of intent and check what you need to do in your country. Because for me, I think I would need to have it notarized, what they call notarized by a notary public. But if you can have just any non-family member witness it, whatever it is in your country that you need to do for it to be legally binding or legally, respected, because anything can happen, and we want to make it simple for the people in our families to be able to say, you know, I stood, you know, I know that my mom or my dad had an account, and this was his email, and all that kind of thing. Make it simple for people, and then, you know, the bottom line is we want to all live long and prosper. But if something does happen, we want to be covered. We want to make it simple for our families and for ourselves, and it's just not a lot of work to do it. So take the advice of Red and Andy here with these simple steps, and you can't go wrong. And then beyond that, Thursday, let's all be there if we can, if at all possible. Yes, yes, awesome. Thanks so much, Andy and Red.
Thank you, Jean. Yeah, I think the one thing again that I've come across over the years as being a financial advisor, when something happens to the parents and the kids get left with the mess, you know, we used to help certainly those out in Dubai with doing a last will and testament, because Sharia law is slightly different to what we class as last will and testament, but you know, when you speak to somebody, you say to them, what's, if you were to leave your kids today and never see them again, what was the last thing that you'd want to tell them? What was the last thing you'd want to make sure that they had? Yeah, or granny's ring or whatever it might be. Okay, is it written down somewhere? No. Well, this is the greatest gift you could ever give anybody, so write the damn thing down. But as I said, make sure that you get a non-family member to witness it and sign and date it. This holds you in good stead. Now, I normally take copies of that. Yeah, you keep one yourself, you keep the original, or if you have a solicitor, you give the solicitor the original, but you keep copies of it around in different places so that, you know, people know, and it is so important. And it's the same with company stuff. You know, you've got to make sure that the company doesn't die. Companies don't die. So you have to make sure that if you're going to pass your details to somebody, you have them as shareholders, if you like, as the company, or the company is willed again across to somebody. And there are so many opportunities to save that little bit of tax by doing the right job when you're putting your accounts through. And honestly, just by reading or looking at the government websites to find out what is and isn't included, you will save yourself a fortune. And believe me, no one likes paying tax, especially not me. So I thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed that. I will get this out to everybody as soon as possible, and we will try and come back to you on a more frequent basis as soon as we possibly can. Don't forget Red's live on Thursday and Heroes on Sunday, and of course, well, Red will be after Ash, of course. So yeah, and he will be able to give you updates. Hopefully, I won't be. I'll be able to have the internet in the car, so at least I can listen in. So don't forget to watch Ash, and we'll see you again.